I think any approach, if it's going to be a consistent approach and philosophy towards people, needs to have some ideas about how people work, how they develop, and how what would call mental illness or mental distress can develop in people. The theory is there to give a consistent conceptualization of how people work. It needs to have that in order to function as an approach. It's worth bearing in mind, though, that these ideas are descriptive rather than prescriptive. What I mean by that is they're an attempt to explain how people work in the abstract. They're not meant to be used to fix people in place in the real world. And I think if they're used in such a prescriptive, one might say dogmatic way, then I think it's likely to get in the way of the therapist's ability to really be open to the client in front of them. Rogers developed these ideas based on years of working with different clients. He observed certain trends and developed ideas around them. He didn't write about John, who's lost his partner recently and lives in Leeds, and he's got a few friends. He goes to the United match quite often, feels down sometimes, isn't really sure why, and I'd like to explore it a bit better. He's got a dog recently, and etc, etc, etc. These concepts are tools to help us get some kind of insight into where a person's at and how they're doing. They aren't the person, though. They're tools to help us understand the person. And that might sound pedantic, but I think it's a really important distinction to make. John's fictional, but it sounds to me as though he's had a bit of a hard time with things recently and wants a space where he can figure things out. I don't want to see him, though, as a bunch of conditions of worth or as a particular stage on the continuum. I might have some ideas about certain feelings that he could struggle to express. That'll be based on listening to him, though, and it'd be tentative. And I might have an idea about how comfortable he is at relating to his own inner experience, but I want to put them to one side. They're to one side. I want to look at him openly and experience him as openly as I can and just be with him. If I view him as a collection of concepts and theories, then that's not going to be helpful, I don't think. As useful as the theories are, let's not let them get in the way of the person in front of us. I can mention a time when I was in my old job as a tutor, when I volunteered to be a client for a colleague so that students could see what a real life session might look like. It was about a 20-minute session, felt pretty good. I was talking about a few things that we'd agreed to beforehand, and we opened the floor afterwards to just talk about it so students could ask questions, make comments, that kind of thing. And one student said, basically put their hand up and said, right, your conditions of worth are this, this, and this, and you're in this stage of the 7 stages. And that felt really uncomfortable to be reduced to a bunch of concepts in this way. And that's kind of what I want to warn against. The person is more complicated than our ideas about them. Rogers, I think, developed a lot of really interesting and useful ideas, but we need to hold them loosely. We need to use them in a way that enables us to open up to our clients and trust in the uncertainty. Let's not use them to get in the way of our perspective of that person in front of us. If John came for a session with me, for example, I wouldn't put huge amounts of effort into working out what his conditions of worth are or assigning him a stage on the continuum. My main focus is offering him a space where he can really bring whatever pain he's feeling or whatever it is he wants to talk about, and where he can talk openly without judgment. He feels really safe in doing that, and he feels like it's a really genuine relationship as well. I'm not just playing a role of therapist. I'm a genuine human being, and I want to be a human being to him. And I think if I get in my own head about different ideas of conditions of worth and things like that, then it's going to get in the way of my ability to do that and respond spontaneously to him if I'm always trying to fit him into my little framework of ideas. I want to be a real person to him, so my focus is on doing that. And to the extent that the theories could be helpful in me understanding and offering him that kind of space, then I'll draw on the ideas and the theories in my own head. But I think if I use them in a certain way, it's going to get in the way of my ability to be with that person. And that's what I want to warn against.